Gurbani around that. Ji Chand Sabh Tisde Sabna Ka Soi, Banda Kisno Akiye, J Duja Hoi. So along those lines, we as a class talked about Guru Nanak and all the differences he made in the society during his time. He identified issues and in his own very, very creative and innovative way addressed them. So we challenged our class, and actually I would say they challenged themselves. They came up with this topic on their own, and everything you're about to hear is by them. The teachers were there as a guide, but we did not give them the content. Pretty impressive because they have identified the issues that exist in our society today. Then they talked about if Guru Nanak was here, how would he look at them? And finally, getting the inspiration from Guru Nanak, they have come up with an action plan to address it in their own way. With that, I'm going to give it over to the class. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. The issue that my group will be talking about is the treatment of children with special needs. We will talk about what Guru Nanak Dev Ji would do if he saw these kids with special needs being made fun of.
Guruji believed in equality. This means that in his opinion, people on the autistic spectrum should never be excluded from other activities. He would use commotion to his advantage when making a point. He also would use many things that would outrage the opposing side. His Saki showed that many people back then didn't really care how they would feel. This is not really much different today.
Kids in the autism spectrum have a neurological disorder that makes it challenging to their everyday life. Kids with neurological disorders are excluded from public activities that other children can participate in. Kids aren't informed of how hard things must be for these children. They may be able to search it on among many internet browsers like Google.
One way Guru Nanak Dev Ji would deal with this situation is he would go to an area where this is common and challenge them to this in their strength. To help educate our public defenders, we need to establish free public classes with volunteers. This would help them learn some tricks that would help them determine how to identify and approach them.
Autistic children go through much in a day. They use special aid teachers to help them get through the day. They also require help from their fellow peers. An example is in my own school, I see autistic children always help each other. If everybody leaves the room and one autistic child is still sitting there, all the autistic kids will go back inside just to help that one kid come out.
Wow.
My group will be talking about climate change. Climate change is very important in the modern world. Climate change causes increased temperature or global warming. This is mainly caused by an increased amount of carbon dioxide and methane in the atmosphere. Cars and factories are the leading cause of this. Climate change causes sea levels to rise, temperatures to rise, extreme weather, seawater acidity to rise, animals to migrate to poles, and agriculture to fail because of the temperature.
I think that Guru Nanak Dev Ji would peacefully protest with the government and he would let them know how many people are being affected by the harmful carbon dioxide. He would try his best to help citizens as much to his extent by providing them with many different materials.
To prevent the global warming problem, we could start an organization to let others know why this is affecting our planet. We could research and add to our ideas. Rather than driving, we can walk, bike, or carpool, because the more you drive, the more fuel you use. We can also recycle more rather than put trash in the ground.
Other things which we could do to save the earth are avoiding products that come with a lot of packaging. You can save 1,200 pounds of carbon dioxide if you shorten your trash by 10%. Also, moving your thermostat down just 2 degrees in the winters and up 2 degrees in the summers could save about 2,000 pounds of carbon dioxide a year. A single tree will absorb 1/10 of carbon dioxide over its lifetime, so plant more trees. And just turning off your electronic devices when you're not using them will save you thousands of pounds of carbon dioxide a year.
My group is broken down into three main problems: racial, gender, and LGBTQ plus discrimination. Each group will be talking about background info, what Guru Nanak Dev Ji would do about it, and what we would do about it. My group's topic is racial discrimination. We choose this topic because we want to see how this issue affects people in everyday life. Racial discrimination is when people assume what your race is based on your skin color or how successful you are in life. Now here's Emily talking about what Guru Nanak Dev Ji would do about this problem.
Guzzle talked about the problems of racial discrimination, and now I'm going to talk about what Guru Nanak Dev Ji would do about it. Guru Nanak Dev Ji would attract attention to make a point. Guru Nanak Dev Ji would pinch each of their arms and ask if it hurt. That would prove to everyone that even though our skin color is different, we all experience the same pain. Now here's Meher talking about what we would do about this problem.
Now that we talked about what Guru Nanak Dev Ji would do, we are going to talk about what we would do. To break the barrier of racial discrimination, we will start acknowledging the people who we see every day. We know it will take time to change other people's behavior, but eventually they will understand that we are all one race, and by God created everyone equally. With this approach, happiness, peace, and prosperity will be brought to our world.
We will be talking about gender discrimination. Gender discrimination is always known for girls not being treated as equally as boys are, but gender discrimination affects everyone. Gender discrimination can vary between girls not being treated properly during a game with boys or to women not being paid enough for doing the same amount of work. For example, Victorian women earned 87.6 cents to every dollar men earn. So if a man earns $100, a woman would only earn around $87. Another problem is when girls want to play sports but don't feel included because most boys stereotype girls into not being able to play sports, and boys are stereotyped into not being able to like art or drawing. Also, traditional stereotypes are difficult for many men to live up to. They feel pressure to be a real man, to be physically and emotionally strong, and be a main income earner. Because of this, most men feel stressed out and can't cope with their stress. Another major issue caused by gender inequality is inequality in education. This affects women the most. In some places in the world, men are educated before women because they believe men carry the family and women create a burden. Due to this belief, many young women are kept home and are associated in some type of child labor. This belief also leads up to 30% of people fighting for gender parity in schools. A few years back, some people took an effective literacy test on men and women. The results were shocking because the men's rate were way higher than the women's. The scores were 82.14% for men and 65.46% for women. Though gender inequality still has issues, the rate for it has decreased a lot. Now many people stand up and fight against it. Even though these things are going on, Guru Nanak Dev Ji would have found a creative and eye-catching way to solve it. He probably would have sang a shabad complimenting and expressing how important women are to mankind. After singing, he would explain what the shabad meant. Doing this, he would probably put a different point of view to the people.
Our action plan would be to do a play about women and men, their life, and many differences in their life. First half would be about the men's life. The second half of the play would be about the woman's life. After that, everybody see how different their lives were.
Our group topic is LGBTQ plus discrimination. This is when you're discriminated against for who you like based off of your gender or for who you want to be based off of your gender. I've personally seen this happen when one of my friends expressed that he liked a person who was of the same gender. Word got out and people started making fun of him and discriminating against him. He and I talked and decided to approach the guidance counselor for help with this issue. When this was discussed in Gurmat class, we started to think about how Guru Nanak Dev Ji would approach this topic.
Guru Nanak Dev Ji believed that everyone should be treated equally. He supported gender and religion and believed that everyone should be treated equally. Therefore, he would support LGBTQ+. Since no one came out back then, we don't know exactly what he would do, but knowing that he stuck up for religion and
gender, movements like this.
Since Guruji would always take a creative approach to issues, this is how I would fix this issue taking Guruji's approach. I would organize an assembly with the principal. Secondly, I would get together with a group of friends and create a dance or a song showing LGBTQ discrimination and how it affects people. Thirdly, I would have the guy who was affected by this talk about it and his experience. Then I would use his opportunity to show the school our LGBTQ club, and if you need help, you can come to us. According to Gurbani, all beings and creatures are his. He belongs to all. So who can be bad since there is no other all? Satsangaji, let us all try to live the message of our beloved Guru Nanak by being revolutionary and calling out injustices we see in our life. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
एक ग्रुप फोटो ले लीजिए जरा इन्होंने खड़े होकर छेती ग्रुप फोटो ले ग्रुप फोटो